3 days before that, we won the May Hill Stakes, which was a Group 3 at Doncaster, with Summitville. That's a mile for fillies only. Last year it was a Group 3, it's now Group 2, but she won it as a Group 3, so it was a rather special couple of days for us, a Group 3 and a Group 2, and we'd only been training a couple of years. So.
Within how many days? 4 days?
3 days, yeah, Thursday and Saturday.
And then Summitville went on to the Oaks, did she? Did she do well in the Oaks?
She was third in the Oaks. She was leading. At Epsom they come down the hill and there's just a bit of a run back uphill for the last 100-150 yards, and at the bottom of that little dip she was in front, but she never quite saw the 1.5 miles out. She was most effectively at about 9 furlongs, 9 furlongs. So it was a brave run, and she just got collared. She wasn't beaten far, about a length and a half in the Oaks, but that was a very thrilling race to be watching.
Any stories about training her, or was she quite a straightforward horse to train?
She was always keen. You always were trying to get her to do what you wanted to do at the pace you wanted to do it, not let her do too much, but you had to have an experienced rider, otherwise you could run off with a less strong, less experienced rider.
Yeah, definitely. And then Hugs Dancer obviously was with you for 4 years, won 8 races, I think, including the Ebor. That was in 2002 as well, was it?
Yeah, it was a good year that year. Yeah, he won the Ebor. He'd been progressing up through the handicap systems, and then the next spring he won the Chester Cup first time out. And in fact, he was the first horse in Sea Pigeon to do that Ebor to Chester Cup the following spring, double. And then in the autumn of the year he won the Chester Cup, we took him down to Melbourne. He'd actually been third in the Doncaster Cup actually before that. Prior to that, in fact, midsummer, we'd had a bit of a heart scare with him. His heart went into an abnormal rhythm, so we were able to sort that out. He was third in the Doncaster Cup, and then went down to Australia, and he ran in the Caulfield Cup, and then ran in the Melbourne Cup. It didn't work out for us in the Melbourne Cup, really. It didn't
the race didn't work out, or was it just not?
It didn't go to plan, should we put it that way. And then he was sold subsequently and stayed. Well, he came back to England, then went back to Australia. But I was right about him being a Melbourne Cup horse, because even off a heavier weight the following year, he ran 4th.
Wow.
Yeah, for other people, sadly, not me. But he was a great horse to have around. He wasn't a difficult ride, and he was a sort of horse that just came to work every day and loved his work. He just said, "What do you want me to do today?" But he was the first time we used an approach of exercising a horse twice in a day to get him ready for the Chester Cup. We got a lot of, certainly when we ended up in Australia in that autumn and they were looking at his recent form, they couldn't believe that he'd won a race over 2 miles 2, first time out for the season. And what we were doing, we were cantering him as normal and galloping him and so on in the morning, but then he was coming back, he would come obviously in his stable, and in the afternoon at evening stables he was getting 40 minutes or so lunging as well. So he was getting 2 periods of exercise in a day, and that certainly brought on his fitness to a degree where he was fit enough to go out and win over 2 miles 2 in a competitive handicap, first race of the season.
And lots of your horses do well early in the season. Do you think that is because of the level of work you put into them?
I think so, yeah. The gallop that we were looking at earlier, that is quite stiff that last couple of furlongs
as they come up the hill.
And it's able to get some work into them without pushing them too hard with speed and so on. Using the lunging technique we used a few years later for a horse I'm sure we're going to mention in a minute, Dandino and Indian Days. Both of those were being lunged in the evening as well, in the lead up to their first races.